I'm a political expert, and I'm going to break down the racism in Niko Omilana's video.
You're on the best channel on YouTube.
British, older, fucking white.
So why are you here today?
I don't give a fuck, mate. BLM, mate. Fuck them all. Fuck them all, mate.
Them.
Everyone here, all the whites, mate. You don't see one. Don't see one of them here, yeah?
Take back our country.
That's it, mate. That's all we got to do. We've got to take it back, mate.
Yeah, you're a very smart guy.
When we take it back, mate, that is fucking it, mate.
Generally, on the whole take our country back narrative, it's quite a strong message, but I think the biggest thing you can point out with a lot of these people is that they've neglected their own communities, and this isn't all of them, but a lot of them are sadly, obviously, drug addicts. A lot of them abuse alcohol. A lot of them go to football matches and cause fights, right? These are the same people. These are, you know, a cross-section of people that do these things, right, in terms of, you know, the right-wing extremism. And so if you actually wanted to take your country back, why don't you do some community gardening? Why don't you do some litter picking? Why don't you do some painting for, you know, I don't know, the youth club down the road or whatever it may be? I just think this narrative that taking the country back has to involve kicking out people is like so out there. And I think it's like the biggest excuse. It's almost like they want the easy way, right? They want to fix the country without actually fixing the country. They want to just have a scapegoat, and saying let's take our country back and not actually doing anything about it is a bit, you know, not just pathetic, but also it highlights how racism is a core tenet of a lot of these marches. It's not about the community. It's not about, you know, young women and girls. It's about, you know, abusing ethnic minorities and making sure that we feel scared in England or in the UK or wherever it may be. I think the intros for Niko's videos are always great, but let's get straight into the meat and bones of this.
Oh, Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson. I love how everyone joins in. Tommy.
It's like I'm just gonna have to keep stopping this video, aren't I? Like, just one thing to point out there, right? I made a video a few days ago about, you know, the far right extremism in the UK and how Keir Starmer is going to lose the next election. And a lot of the comments were saying how people that went on the United Kingdom march weren't racist, right? They just were ordinary people. And I think I'm happy to believe that. I'm happy to, you know, understand that and take that in. But one criticism of that I would have is that clip right there where everyone's singing the name of a, not only, you know, a known criminal, but a known racist, a known fascist, and a known former member of the British National Party, which was so extreme, by the way, that Nigel Farage won't even let him into reform. That's how bad he is. He's not an ordinary political figure, Tommy Robinson. This guy is someone that's had to change his name because of how racist he's been in the past. That, for me, is almost, you know, like you can't be dumb enough to not know that Tommy Robinson is a horrible person.
I'm saying
To fuck off.
exactly every single one of them.
Every single fucking one of them. I think Islam should be banned.
Oh, I agree with that. Now you're talking sense,
Islam
love.
should be fucking banned.
Yeah.
All fuck off.
Who?
All the fucking Muslims, foreigners.
Go again,
fuck
love.
off.
Frick off, yeah. Where
You
should
know
they go
what?
to?
I think white people
Yeah.
have more racial abuse than any other race.
Yeah. The white people.
Right, do you know what? I was going to pause it 5 seconds earlier, but she managed to actually say something worse. Again, let's go back to this, right? What did I say earlier? Racism is a core tenet of this march. And now, this might have just been one person, and I'm sure we're going to find out later in the video how many people were actually racist, right? The fact that, you know, she started off by saying illegal immigration, the government are corrupt, which I think, you know, a good percentage of the population probably agrees with, especially the second half, right? The government are relatively corrupt. But then you start saying, kick them all out. Who's all? And you start to go, kick out the Muslims. Okay, and they all need to go. Who's all? And that's what people don't understand. And especially like right-wing people that might be ethnic minorities don't seem to understand that you are at threat here. They are not just talking about asylum seekers. Once they get rid of the asylum seekers, you will be next. Farage's announcement on indefinite leave to remain is a really good example of this. He's not trying to deport asylum seekers only. He's trying to deport your mum and dad, your neighbours' parents, your neighbours, full stop, your shopkeepers, your local hospitality workers, your local NHS nurses and doctors. Those are the type of people that he's trying to deport. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because of the colour of their skin and where they've come from. Fundamentally, this is an issue of racism, and a lot of these people have views that are absolutely horrid. And honestly, it's making me sick to watch this, but I'm not surprised at all. Anyway, let's carry on.
Ben,
I may have lost my lady, but at least I know she's with a good man, with a good heart. I can tell before I even speak to him.
I think 900 must
oh, absolutely outrageous. And how many blacks are there in Leicester? Black people.
And
Oh yeah, as in what? Oh yeah, that's the word. Sorry. Yeah. There's millions of them. I'm so glad that you're using the right terminology as well. Yeah. Because I'm tired of calling them the blacks. With all your friends and stuff, how do they feel about it?
hate.
They hate it. I'm glad we can come together now and be honest about it. Because this is what we've been waiting for. Exactly. If you could get rid of every black person in this country, what would you do?
I would get fucking.
Good, well done. And if you saw someone of colour here right now, what would you say to him?
Fuck off.
I know it's just one example. I know it's just one woman, but bloody hell, her husband was convinced that there were 700 mosques or 900 mosques in Leicester. And I love the fact checking from Niko because it's perfect. It shows you that the issues aren't actually as big as they make it seem to be. They take a very minute issue, and it's the same with the grooming gangs, right? The grooming gang scandal was absolutely horrible, but you look at the vast majority of grooming gangs, they're not Pakistani men, they're not black men, they're white men. So is it a white men problem? No one would say that. But because we associate, brown people, black people with negative behaviours, because of, the racism we've been taught throughout history, we're just all right with that. It's completely normal to assume that, for example, as the woman I said earlier, they don't want to mix with us anyway. Who's they? Presumably the Muslims, right? They don't want to mix with us anyway. When you see a lot of Muslims working with English people, you see, the chairman of Reform UK is quite literally a Muslim, a brown Muslim. And what gets me really riled up, and as a so-called political expert, right, what gets me really wound up is that none of this is based on actual analysis. None of this is based on actual facts. It's all based on fake news and lies, right? How many blacks are there in Leicester? That's what he asked him, right? I'm quoting him. How many black people are there in Leicester? Niko asked him. Hundreds, millions, thousands. It doesn't matter to them. The facts don't matter. It's all about how they feel. It's not about facts. And historically, we've been told that the right are the party of facts. But actually, and historically, we've been told that right-wing people deal with facts and not feelings, right? That's their famous slogan. But actually, when you look at the reality of a lot of far-right narrative, it's all about emotion. It's all about feeling unsafe in your own country. That's fundamentally what they're trying to tell us, that they don't feel safe in their own land, right? Like, if anyone should be safe, it should be the British. That's what they're arguing, and that, we need to prioritise ourselves, at least for now. It's exactly the same argument Donald Trump made when he made the Muslim ban, and it's still in place to this day. But what they don't realise is that their friends, their colleagues, these people a lot of them will end up being victimised by this, right? And that doesn't mean that their friends and colleagues are all brown or Muslim or black. Some of them might be white, but just look a bit racially ambiguous. They too will be caught in the crossfire of what's to come. Do you know what? They're so selfish and so emotional about what they're campaigning on that they don't even consider that. They just want them all gone, quote unquote. They don't think about the repercussions of how many immigrants actually work for the NHS. The fact that you are more likely, if you are queuing up for healthcare, right, in the UK, you are more likely to be seen by an immigrant, as in an immigrant will be helping you, than you are to be behind an immigrant in a queue. That is a fact. You can look it up. I don't deal with you know, only feelings. I deal with a bit of both. I'll be real, because that's what I think politics is about. The fact that they're just saying hundreds, millions, thousands, get them all out. Far right have historically had a problem with drugs and alcohol, and I sense a bit of that issue here. A lot of them, what they do is they'll come from the Midlands, they'll come from Essex, and they'll all get a coach together, and they'll all do coke on that coke. They'll do coke, they'll drink, you know, they're absolutely fine with getting absolutely hammered to abuse ethnic minorities. That is what they're doing.
What's your favourite immigrant?
Good one.
That's a good one, mate. I like that.
Right one.
Oh, yeah, that's the right one.
Then I found a man who, believe it or not, had a soft spot for one single family.
I've got an Afghani family living next door. And you know what? Beautiful family. Respect. I've helped them. They've helped me. I've got respect for
Good
them.
people.
Good people.
The rare
And
one. That's
working.
rare, though.
Right. But the rest of it, I don't want to be. I'm no racist.
No, neither am I.
Right.
But
There's enough's enough.
enough is enough. So what do we do now?
What we're doing now.
This man almost made me believe that when you meet people and give them a chance, instead of thinking that they're the demons of the earth, they might get a chance to show you that they're not all that bad. But no, I don't believe that. They all must go off our streets.
Again, another example of someone that doesn't know, you know, the reality of what he's campaigning for. You know, his neighbours would be deported under a Nigel Farage regime. Like, you know, obviously I don't know their situation, but if he loves his neighbours so much, he would not be on that march, I promise you. So, and do you know what? Like, yeah. Anyway, carry it. I'm actually, yeah, I'm fast becoming angry now. I'm not even like, I was going to give you guys some good political analysis here, but I'm actually just becoming angry because this is all emotion. It's no fact. I can't debate this. How can you debate with someone that goes, I'm no racist, but what do you mean but? I can't do this anymore.
And the millions in this march were with us. Finally, we were fighting back.
Actually chasing us. What are you doing? What are you doing? I was born in this country.
Fucking love your country then.
Smacker.
What do you smacker?
What a good lad. For too long, the media have lied about us, calling us racists, but our leader, Tommy Robinson, says we're the best in Britain.
The media have labelled us and slandered us. They are the best in Britain. All the people who have come here today, they're alienated, they're forgotten, they're neglected. People want change.
That's right, every single one of us are the best in Britain.
Right, okay, I've got something to tell you guys. Does anyone remember, right, when there was a wave of Islamic terrorist attacks? A wave, like a significant wave of, like, you know, so-called Islamic terrorist attacks where, you know, for example, the Manchester bombing, obviously you got the 7/7 bombing, got 9/11, right. As a Muslim, I was constantly asked, right, not just, you know, by my friends, but by people like Tommy Robinson, they were adamant that somehow average Muslims in the UK were absolutely fine with this happening, right, that we condoned it because it was in our, you know, holy book. Right, which is complete nonsense, by the way. If you want me to debunk that, we can debunk that. The quote that they always use is, you know, find them where you know, find them and slay them. Right, it's a specific verse in the Quran. Right, out of context, it sounds absolutely horrible, but they completely miss out the fact that they're talking about a war. Right, a lot of people forget that a lot of the Quran is, you know, history. Right, they describe stories, and so this idea that Muslims are taught to, you know, slay them where you find them, is like we're some, like, you know, horrible sword wielding, you know, dirty barbarians, right? Anyway, point being, we were constantly asked to condemn these attacks, and obviously you condemn them, but the question you'd ask is, why are you asking me to condemn them? What, is it because I'm brown? Is that why? Actually, you look at the abuse that lots of people experienced on that march, right? You saw that video of the brown woman being chased down the road. You see the articles of people saying that they experienced racism at the march. You see people experiencing racism in my local town, right? Where's Tommy Robinson? Has he condemned any of that? Has Nigel Farage condemned any of that? No, they're not expected to condemn any of that because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just like the deaths and the lives of, you know, ethnic minorities. When these things happen, we become increasingly less important. And the media, what they do is, because they feel guilty for not, covering it enough, because the right wing accuse them of doing that, what they do is they over cover it. So if you look at the BBC, they've given way more coverage to the Reform Party than the Green Party, for example, even though Reform have got exactly the same amount of seats as the Green Party in the last election. And if anything, the Green Party leader won an election. Nigel Farage didn't. He was just put in there. So ultimately, a lot of this is, building consent for what's about to happen, which is, a potential reform government. And what the BBC don't realise is that by doing this, by covering it, in a positive light and making the marches look like they weren't actually, full of hate, right? And I'm not saying everyone there was racist, so of course not, because I'd say a good 80% of the people there, you could probably change their mind. You speak to them, you could probably say, you know what, you've got the wrong issue here. The issue isn't the person coming on a dinghy, it's the, person coming on a private jet. I reckon you can have that conversation with them. The other 20%, absolutely not. And what they are doing is they're getting increasingly more violent. They're getting increasingly, more aware politically. They're getting more involved, right? You see all of these England flags about. This is designed to kind of reduce our influence. And effectively, what's going to happen to the BBC is that Nigel Farage will completely remove it as a public service. So they're effectively digging their own grave, right, by not confronting this for what it is, which is a movement towards fascism.
As I marched on, I was curious to know why others like me were here.
What was your reason for joining us, the movement?
Legal immigrants. I'm against all that.
So where's the line then, mate?
Where?
Yeah.
You tell me.
What do we do now?
Send them all back.
Every one of them?
Yeah.
85% of Muslims, they've taken all our jobs. You know that?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I love when people believe false facts. There's been a survey, I don't know if you read it, you look like you read the news. 99% of the Muslims said they want to take over the country.
Yeah.
You read that?
Yeah.
Because that's what the thing is, that when false facts just get said to you and you just back it like that, it's just mental, mate. It's just like straight waffle. You are the king waffler.
Their government and their law and that, they're not helping us, they're not protecting us.
They're not, You know how many Muslims have come into the country since 2019? 200 million, mate.
Yeah.
You read that?
I can believe it.
Yeah. 200 million, mate.
Yeah.
That's absolutely mental. They're ready to wage war with us. Did you read that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course you did, mate.
What did I say earlier, right? It's all based on emotion. And Niko does a really good job of pushing this guy here, this gentleman, right? Says, did you hear this? It's completely fake fact. It doesn't matter what number, right, it is. It could be 1 million, it could be 100 million, it could be 10, right? It could just be 10. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you a secret. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Because at the end of the day, they don't like us. They don't like us. And there's some people in this country, right? Again, not the majority of people. I think it's a good 10% of the country. 10% of the country. They would rather see me not here. They would not want, my family here, or if you're an ethnic minority, even if you're slightly, 25%, 10%, whatever it may be, right? Even if you're, as they put it, are you sure you're not an immigrant? Are you sure? It's crazy. What, am I gonna go around having to justify my existence as, I'm not an immigrant, but my parent was, so, it's fine. Honestly, I think it's quite frightening. If that becomes the norm, I think we're going to have a big problem in this country. Massive problem. Anyway, let's carry on. If people like that feel open and, okay with saying stuff like that, like, oh, look, black people there, oh, how scared I'm not scared of them, I'll just tell them. It's like, using terminology that they're using, in open, shows you that they feel perfectly comfortable with this. They're not worried about losing their jobs. They're not worried about, the repercussions of this. So this whole idea, this whole narrative that, they're going to get cancelled because they want to stop the boats is complete nonsense. Because if they were, they'd be a lot more worried about saying it in public. I promise you. They don't know. I think they know they're being recorded, actually. So, which makes it even worse. They know they're being recorded. They probably presume it's going to go on some EDL channel. And yet they're speaking very openly like this, you know. And so if this is what they're willing to say in public, imagine what they're willing to do in private, and that is a really, really frightening thought. Anyway, let's carry on.
Guys, I've got a confession to make, yeah? My granddad, he was actually mixed race. He was actually part black.
Fuck off, yeah.
Oh, it's okay. Is that okay, mate? I'm sorry. So you don't care about that stuff?
That's not about that, is it? You're the same, not.
Yeah, like I hate every black person I see here.
No, cannot say that.
Really?
They done to you.
You're right, actually. Wait, so we should be proud to be British, no matter where we come from?
When you live over here, you're proud to be British. You're living over here.
Oh, yeah? No, listen, mate, I like what you said.
On the inside.
Huh?
They're all pink on the inside, mate.
Well, yeah, we all bleed blood, mate. So the reason, what's the reason you're here then, mate?
Sick of the Labour government. They need to go. The Labour needs to go. People are trying to make out they're embarrassed on the flag or whatever. You're embarrassed on the flag.
I'm not embarrassed of the flag, mate.
Wow. This is the first person I spoke to who didn't agree with my views. The first one, can you believe it?
I don't think the majority of people on that march are racist, and I think that person is a really good example. Fair play to him, you know, like the fact that he had, you know, the balls to kind of say, no, what is wrong with being black? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you can be proud to be British and be an ethnic minority. And I think, yeah, I just generally think that is a very good representation of how it could have been, what that march could have been. And I think it could have been about the flag. It could have been about being proud to be British, but it wasn't, because it was led by fascists. And as long as these people, you know, don't condemn Tommy Robinson in the same way that they wanted me to condemn ISIS and Hamas or whatever it may be, they are ultimately playing their game for them. They are, you know, pawns in Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage's game. They are using them to, you know, earn more money, to fundraise, to gain political power. Have you noticed how Tommy Robinson goes on holiday for a while after one of these big protests, and you don't see him? Eventually he runs out of money. That's actually what happens. He runs out of money and he decides, I need to start a storm again. And he'll start a storm and he'll organise a protest and people will join and people will fundraise for it. At the end of the day, I think the way I think about this is that a lot of these people have been tricked and a lot of these people have been led astray. It's like they're almost there. They're almost there. Labour government, very bad, very corrupt, you know. We should be proud of our flag. 100%. Go for it. Why not? I don't, you know, obviously historically the Union Jack is a very questionable flag, you know. The Indians used to call it the butcher's apron. I'll let you figure out why. But the fact of the matter is, you know, what they say they're protesting about isn't actually that deep. I don't think most people would be worried about it. But the fact that, you know, again, the language they were using, the fact that they checked if, you know, if he was an immigrant, you know, they were laughing about it. It does not make someone like me feel safe. Let's just say that. And that is what Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage want. They want us to kind of quiet down and for them to get a bit louder. And making this video, you know, being productive on social media, speaking out in public and in the political sphere is exactly what we need to do to challenge this, you know, fascism and racism. Let's carry on watching, and yeah.
Yes, we don't need the blacks.
We don't need no one like that.
That's
as far I think the great
what would you do if you saw a black right now?
Do you know what I've got in my bag?
What would you do?
I've got 3 knives in my bag. I've got a fucking blade.
You've got 3 knives in your bag and you'd use them on the black if you saw one?
Fucking right, I would.
Oh, mental. That's crazy.
No, I think it was fuck me.
Good. I'm glad you do that.
Do you want to see them?
No, we'll be fine actually. Yeah, we'll be good.
I put one in the cement box. Because Chinese blade that fucking do your artery.
What a lot of these people again don't understand is that the public services that they rely on, their children go to schools, right? They go to hospital, they take buses, they take train. How did they get down here? Likely driven by an immigrant bus driver or an immigrant train driver, or, you know, served by an immigrant waiter or helped by an immigrant doctor. And maybe they're not an immigrant. But the fact of the matter is, it shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter what colour they are, where they come from. This march makes it a problem. This march categorises people as per. They say, right, well, if you're white, not a problem. Black, brown, you know, anything below, we don't want you here. Get out. So, I've been saying this for a long time on my channel. The Conservatives started the Stop the Boats language, right? Rishi Sunak came out with a podium with bright red writing on his podium saying stop the boats, right? And we all knew what was going to happen. Now, the far right have co-opted that language. Sink the boat, send them back. That's what they like to say, you know. Shoot them, shoot the dinghies, basically. Ignoring the fact that people die on that journey anyway. Lots of people die on that journey. It's one of the most dangerous journeys to make in the world. And they want to make it harder for them, not easier. And that shows you the lack of compassion behind this kind of politics. If anything, you want to go back to what makes Britain great again. It was the compassion and the, you know, sense of community after World War II that rebuilt this country. You know, the country was rebuilt by immigrants, by the Windrush generation, by the generations of immigrants, Indian immigrants, Asian immigrants, you know, West Indian immigrants, North African immigrants. We can go on and name the various influences, Chinese influences, all of the different foods that they eat. Where do you think they went to eat after this? They probably had a Chinese or kebab.